Okay guys, so I just got out of Assassin's Creed. This was the film that was going to change that concept that all video game movie adaptations were terrible. It does have a loaded cast, it has a solid budget, so does it really break that jinx? Let's talk about it.
We work in the dark to serve the light. We are assassins.
Assassin's Creed is directed by Justin Kurzel and it stars Michael Fassbender, Marion, Cotillard, and Jeremy Irons. The story in this one follows Callum Lynch. He is on death row, and when he thinks he's about to be executed, he wakes up in a company called Abstergo. He is told he will need to go into this machine called the Animus that will allow him to sync up with the genetic memories of his ancestors, and his mission will be to travel to 15th century Spain to sync up with the memories of his ancestor named Aguilar, who is an assassin for the Creed. He can then recover this Apple of Eden, something that can control free will. I don't know, the story had many more unneeded layers to it, but in shorter terms, this film was just a mess. I was actually hoping for this movie to be good. Back in the good old days when I had free time, I played the first couple Assassin's Creed games from start to finish, so saying I was interested in this movie was an understatement, but I am sad to say this film was just not very good at all. It did have some good elements to it, but the story was so intent on trying to tell this elaborate story that connected the 15th century Spain with the current day, and it just did not work. The story was fragmented, didn't really have a good flow to it at all. It felt like they were trying too hard to weave this intricate plot that just didn't really have a focus to it. The best thing about the games was the time spent as an assassin in whatever time period setting the theme of the game was. In this film, the time spent in the past was excellent. The action sequences were extremely well shot, the parkour sequences were well captured, and once all the smoke would clear from these scene intros, the visuals were awesome. The problem was this movie rang in at like 2 hours and they only went back into the Animus like 3 times, maybe 4. And the performances were all very good, but there was about equal time spent on scenes between Fassbender and Cotillard rambling through dialogue and exposition as there was time spent in the Animus as assassins. It just killed the flow of the film for me and the enjoyment. I would really get into the story when it was in the past, but then I would just as quickly be pulled right out of it as a bulk of the script was shockingly spent in the present. As for Fassbender, he was good in the lead. He was what I had hoped for in the role as an assassin, but as Callum Lynch, he was rather common in his portrayal, and that is unfortunately who he was most of the time. Marion Cotillard was very good in her extremely generic role, as was the great Jeremy Irons. The problem is I didn't really give a crap about any of these characters. None were very well developed, and despite their acting skill and that ability Fassbender has to cry without crying, they could still only do so much with this script, and it just did not intrigue me at all. I thought the action sequences in the past were awesome, and I thought there were some moments that this really felt like a great adaptation of the game, but they were so few and far between in this just overly weighed down script that was shockingly boring at times. It refused to end even after a decent wrap up and the hint of a sequel. It was an extremely long, dull 2 hours with only a few memorable scenes that will be forgotten in the film that was just all over the place. And I know Fassbender needs a certain amount of face time. He is handsome, he's charming, he's loaded with vanity muscles, and having his shirt off for 30 minutes could have been a necessity to some, but in my opinion, he should have stayed cloaked and hooded much longer in a story that focused more on the time period and not the present. And overall, I'm going to give Assassin's Creed a D+. It kills me to do so. I wanted this film to be great. I hoped it could spur a new franchise, but I highly doubt it will after this one. The lack of focus in the tone and the direction of the story were not what they could have been with the source material they had to work with. It has some moments to it without a doubt, but unfortunately you have to sit through a bad movie to see them. And yeah, that's my review of Assassin's Creed, guys. Christmas definitely didn't come early for me in seeing this film. I'm very disappointed in it. Have you seen Assassin's Creed yet? Let me know what you thought in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this quick review and you'd like to see more. Thank you so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. I'm Anthony. This is the SilverScreen Analysis, and I'll see you guys at the movies.